Hello Year 4 and welcome to Lesson 4 of your English home learning. So far we have drawn our animal and we have planned what we are going to say. We've also done 2 subheadings. So today we are going to finish our non-chronological reports by doing our other subheading, so the remaining 2 subheadings. I have to say that Miss Long and I are so impressed with some of the work that you've been doing. It's really creative and you've been using a range of skills that we have worked on in the term. So lots of you have been using your expanded noun phrases, you've been challenging yourself to find more specific vocabulary. You've also been thinking about a range of sentences, so your simple, compound and complex sentences when you've been writing. So we are really impressed and we're really amazed at all the hard work that you've been doing at home. So well done. Okay, so before we have a look at the paragraphs that I have written for you underneath my subheadings, I'm just going to go back and remind myself of what was in What Does a Merwolf Eat and remind you to show you how I've included it. So I have, for my first bullet point, I said that merwolves enjoy eating ancient chewy sea urchins, and to merwolves they taste just like chocolate cornflakes. Not sure they would taste the same way to us, but still, that is an interesting fact. And on the night of a full moon, merwolves hunt for fishermen. They lure the fishermen off the side of the boat using their hypnotising eyes. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the writing I've already done, just to make sure that I haven't mentioned anything from my plan about what they eat so far. Okay, so I can see here when I'm talking about what does a merwolf look like, I have mentioned that fishermen are often lured into the water off their boats by their luminous eyes. So perhaps I will mention fishermen in a slightly different way this time. But I haven't said anything about them eating sea urchins yet, so I can mention that and make sure I include that in my paragraph. So we're going to have a look at my writing now. So my first paragraph was, what does a merwolf eat? So let's have a look at the first point I have made. I'm going to get my pen because I'm going to do some highlighting again. And I've also put, as you can see down here in yellow, coordinating conjunctions, because I think that is something important I need to highlight I've included in my writing, specifically if I've tried to make a sentence more complex or tried to add a bit more information, So what does a merwolf eat? Although mermaids are herbivorous creatures, the merwolf's diet is controlled by its wolf-like traits. So straight away, I'm going to get my red pen and I'm going to underline herbivorous. As you can see down here, we've got herbivore. So herbivore is an animal or a creature or a human that only eats vegetation. It doesn't eat any meat. You can also describe someone as herbivorous. So you might describe a rabbit as herbivorous because they only eat vegetation. So that is my technical vocabulary. I've also used the word diet to show what I'm specifically talking about. And I've also spoken about traits. Traits are something that is unique to an animal or a person. So another trait for a wolf might be that they howl, because that's something that only wolves do. So it having a wolf-like trait, that might mean that it is not herbivorous, so it is carnivorous. Okay, next sentence. Its daily diet usually, I'm going to underline diet, usually consists of a variety of fish and dolphin, but once a month, when the moon is full, their hunger becomes endless and their stomachs turn into bottomless pits. So I can see here that I've used but, which is a coordinating conjunction, because it is telling me, connecting the sentence with a bit of extra information. So, but once a month, when the moon is full, their hunger becomes endless and their stomachs turn into bottomless pits. I'm also going to get my orange pen and I'm going to underline once a month, because I have said how often something happens. Okay, so once a month when the moon is full. And that is important because it tells me about the specific time. Okay, so we are going to go on to the next point that I have spoken about. Feasting on a diet of fishermen, sperm whale and pharaoh cuttlefish, they are feared by all the sea's inhabitants. So on this first sentence here, I am actually going to get my red pen out again, and I'm going to underline sperm whale and pharaoh cuttlefish, because these are very specific types of fish. So up here I've said variety of fish, but once a month when the moon is full, these are the particular sea life that they like to feast on. Also going to underline inhabitants. Instead of saying they are feared by all the sea's life, I've said inhabitants, so the other things that live in the sea. So if you want to use that in your writing, you can use that word as well. I've also used a verb to open up my sentence here, so feasting on a diet of fishermen. Using a verb as well as an adverbial is a really interesting way to open up your sentence instead of saying the, this, the, that. Think about how you might be able to use verbs in your writing to switch around the way you start sentences. Next sentence. Occasionally, the merwolf's hunger will cause the levels of sea life to lower, leaving them to forage the ocean floor for ancient sea urchins, which to merwolves taste like chocolate cornflakes. Okay, so straight away you can see that I have got a useful generalizer. This one here, starting my sentence. So I'm just telling you how often this event happened. The merwolf's hunger will cause the levels of sea life to lower, leaving them to forage, which I would say is a technical piece of vocabulary. Remember, we saw it in the Polinsky Winter Trolls non-chronological report. Forage the ocean floor for ancient sea urchins. Again, I'm being specific about what they are eating, which to merwolves tastes like chocolate cornflakes. So I'm just giving that little bit of extra information as to what they taste like to them. I could just leave it and say they need to eat ancient sea urchins, but I bet you didn't know that to merwolves they taste like chocolate cornflakes. So if you can think of any interesting ways to add a bit of creativity into your writing, even if it feels super wacky, just add it in at the end. You can use a which to do that. Okay, we're going to move on to our last paragraph. So what is the typical behaviour of a merwolf? So let's go back and just check what I put in my original plan. So I've actually put what is the typical behaviour of a merwolf. I have said that merwolves are known as savage predators. They hunt, stalk and kill creatures in their path. But I have also said that research has shown they live in packs and are friendly amongst their own kind. So I need to remember that they are savage predators, but research has shown that they are actually friendly amongst their own kind. So let's see what my writing turned out like when I thought about those two key points. Okay. What is the typical behaviour of a merwolf? The merwolf is known to be a savage predator that stalks, hunts and kills any creatures in its path. So let me just change my D to a Y there. And let's get my pen. So savage predator, I would say that is specific and technical vocab. I would also say that stalks and hunts would be as well, because it's telling me the way in which it gets its food and how that affects its behaviour. However, a study carried out by submariners has shown that they live in packs and are friendly amongst their own kind. So submariners, so people who are in submarines, they have carried out a study. So they have actually carried out some research that has told us about merwolves. Interestingly, they also reported to see the merwolves playing a game similar to Chaos Tag, perhaps suggesting they are not as vicious as they first appear. Okay, so I have used an interesting adverbial opener here. So interestingly, they also reported to see the merwolves playing a game similar to Chaos Tag, perhaps suggesting they are not as vicious as they first appear. So vicious is also, I would say it's more descriptive than technical, I suppose. I'm just going to have another look over my writing and make sure that there isn't anything that I have missed. Okay, so I've forgotten to highlight usually, because that's telling us how often something happens. So, I mean, they usually, so most of the time, eat a variety of fish. I haven't underlined all of the coordinating conjunctions, so I haven't underlined and, just because I use that quite frequently in my writing. Okay, so you can see in this how I've actually used a lot more technical vocabulary this time, but that's because I haven't used as many adverbial openers. I've maybe thought about how I could use verbs instead to open up my sentences. So see if you can do the same with your writing today. So you will be finishing this off. Remember always to use descriptive adjectives in your writing as well. You might find that when you're describing what they eat and their behaviour, your adjectives might look a little different. So remember, you might describe how they think or feel rather than what they look like. So it's going to be to do with what's on the inside rather than how they look visually. Okay, so to do with how they act. Okay, so I'm going to just show you what my final non-chronological report looks like. Just move myself. So this is what mine looks like here. I just need to change the font here because, as you can probably see, that one is a little bigger. Okay, so I have laid it out like this. So I've got my title here, my subheadings that are clear to see because they're in bold and they're slightly bigger. Then I've also copy and pasted my picture, but luckily you'll have your picture to hand or you'll have written around it. I've got a caption here, so an artist's depiction of the magical merwolf. So obviously that's my drawing, but it's not an actual picture. So I could say this is what an artist thinks they look like, so a depiction. And then I put my fun fact at the bottom, which is actually Callum's in 4L, so well done to you, Callum. But I really liked your idea of the merwolf's eyes being telescopic, so it could zoom in and zoom out of objects. And I thought that would be really good to go with its eyes that can see for up to 2 miles away, because if it can see objects, so this is the fun fact. So the merwolf's eyes are telescopic and it can see objects that are 5 miles away as if they were right in front of it. So imagine if you could look 5 miles away at a tree, but that tree, it was as if it was right in front of you. So that probably makes it an even better hunter. And that is why I really liked your fact, Callum. So I decided to add that onto the bottom of my report. So this just gives you an idea of what it might look like when you're finished. You can lay it out slightly different, so put your picture in the middle, lay it out in a way that makes sense to you, but in a way that is eye-catching and interesting for a reader. Okay, what I might do is pop this up on the home learning site as well, just to give you an idea of the layout. But good luck, and I know from what I've seen from your home learning so far that you've all done a brilliant job, so I know they're going to turn out just great. And today is the last lesson of our non-chronological report. So well done, everybody, and I look forward to seeing them all. Take care. Bye.